We all have secrets. What is yours? Silent Secrets Audio. Confess in the comments.
The first sign that something was wrong was the weather report arriving 12 minutes before the weather happened. I was working the overnight shift at a small Environment Canada monitoring station outside Port aux Basques, Newfoundland. This was in February, during a stretch when the ferries had already been delayed twice that week. My job was mostly routine. Check the instruments, confirm automated readings, record visibility, and call the regional office if anything stopped matching. At 1:18 in the morning, our printer started running. That printer was connected to the emergency reporting system. It produced hard copies of marine warnings in case the internet went down. Usually, the alert appeared on my computer first, then the printer started a few seconds later. This time, nothing appeared on my screen. The paper said wind gusts had reached 118 kilometers an hour at our station. Visibility was listed as 0. The time on the report was 1:30 a.m. It was still 1:18. Outside, the wind was strong, but nowhere near that speed. I could see the red lights on the communications tower through the office window. I assumed the system clock had drifted. That happened occasionally after maintenance. I wrote the issue in the logbook and called the regional technical line. A man answered on the second ring. He asked for my station code, then told me not to touch the equipment until a technician contacted me. His voice was calm, but he did not give his name. I checked the internal directory after the call. The number I had dialed was correct. Still, it bothered me. Everyone on the technical line normally identified themselves because the calls were recorded. At 1:24, the printer produced another report. This one said the backup generator had started after a power failure. The lights above me were still on. I went into the utility room and checked the generator panel. It showed normal standby mode. No faults. No recent activation. Then the building lost power. The generator started almost immediately. I stood there listening to it vibrate through the concrete floor. 6 minutes earlier, the system had reported the exact event before it occurred. I called the regional office again. A different person answered. A woman named Denise. I explained the reports, including the earlier call. She went quiet when I mentioned the man. She said their technical line had not received any calls from my station that night. I checked the phone display. The outgoing call was still listed, 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Denise asked me to unplug the printer from the network. When I walked back into the main room, a third page was waiting in the tray. It reported that the eastern instrument mast had collapsed. The timestamp was 1:42. It was 1:31. The eastern mast was about 80 meters from the building. It held our visibility sensor and one of the wind monitors. Through the window, I could still see its warning light moving slightly in the wind. Denise told me to stay inside and contact local police. Before I could, the line filled with static and disconnected. My mobile phone had no service. That was not unusual during bad weather, but the station's landline operated through a separate system. It should have stayed connected. At 1:36, I heard a metal impact outside. Not a crash. More like someone striking a hollow pipe. The eastern mast light disappeared. A few seconds later, the office computer showed the visibility sensor as offline. I did not go outside. I locked the main door and pulled the blinds. The wind had increased quickly now. Loose ice was hitting the windows. The building shook in short bursts. At 1:40, headlights appeared through the blinds. A white pickup stopped beside the equipment shed. It had an amber light bar on the roof, but no government markings on the doors. A man got out wearing reflective coveralls and a hard hat. He walked directly to the entrance and knocked 3 times. He said he had been sent to inspect the mast. I asked which office sent him. He gave the name of our regional supervisor, but pronounced the surname incorrectly. I told him I had instructions not to open the door. He stopped answering. For nearly a minute, he stood on the other side of the glass. I could see only part of his face through the narrow, uncovered edge of the window. Then he walked around the building. I heard him try the rear utility door. The printer started again. The new report said an unauthorized person had entered the station at 1:47. The current time was 1:43. I pulled the printer cable from the wall. It continued printing. The page moved slowly, one line at a time, even though both the network and power cables were disconnected. I remember looking underneath the desk because I thought I had missed another wire. There was none. The man outside struck the rear door with something heavy. Once, twice. The frame shifted inward. I grabbed the emergency radio and transmitted on the local marine channel. A ferry officer answered. I gave him the station location and said someone was trying to enter. The man stopped hitting the door as soon as I spoke on the radio. His truck left less than a minute later. The RCMP arrived around 2:20 after the worst gusts had passed. They found fresh damage on the rear door and tool marks on the lock. The eastern mast had not collapsed naturally. 2 of its support bolts had been removed, and a cable had been cut. The white pickup was never identified. A systems team inspected the station the next day. They found that someone had installed a small, unauthorized transmitter inside the printer housing. It could send false reports and interfere with certain communications. But according to them, it could not predict a power failure or continue printing after being unplugged. They believed the power outage had been caused by damage to an exterior junction box. That explained one event. It did not explain how the first report had described the wind speed recorded 12 minutes later. The official instrument log showed a peak gust of exactly 118 kilometers an hour at 1:30. The printer was removed and stored as evidence. 3 weeks later, I received a scanned copy of one final page found folded inside its paper compartment. It contained only my station code, my full name, and a time. 2:20 a.m., the exact time the police arrived.